This is the Authentic Dating series brought to you by Ahmad and David,
where we explore what it takes to have a dating life you're excited about.
Hi, I'm David.
I'm Ahmad.
And this is the Authentic Dating series, episode 20.
Da-da-da-da.
Boo!
That was my sound effect.
Yeah, so, this is our 20th episode. I feel like we've come a long way. It's been a few months now. We keep putting episodes out for you guys. So to give you a bit of background on us, who we are two 30-something former dating coaches, probably been on a few hundred dates between us.
Mostly on Dave's side, I think.
I think he's underestimating his own dating power.
Oh, no, I have dated. I have.
And yeah, we're just trying to share our knowledge from our wisdom and our lives. We've traveled the world and experienced many things and been many girlfriends and had many heartbreaks and breakups and got to a point in our lives now where we're a bit more mastered at kind of creating amazing relationships in our lives, whether that be with partners or friends and family and all good things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So welcome to episode 20. I feel like it's a special episode, even though we haven't made it a special episode. Just actually getting to the milestone of 20 episodes in. There's a thing called pod fade, where podcasts start and then they just disappear, and that's defined as pod fade.
Okay.
Yeah, podcast that starts and then just
fades out.
Yeah,
I've seen a few of those.
Okay.
I've seen a few. You got to like episode 4 or 5 and then they're gone.
Oh, serious?
Yeah. I've seen a few.
Well, we've done very well.
Yeah, we're at 20 and I reckon we'll still be here at 60.
We're lasting 5 times as long as the next leading brand of podcast.
If only I could last that long in bed.
I think according to some, Dave, you do. According to some, you do.
I come with good recommendations. So after all that chatter, we're going to get into what we're going to talk about today, which is, this is a topic that we kind of come up with today. 10 things we hate about online dating. Like, I know that online dating is like the thing to do these days when it comes to the dating world. Like, everyone's just swiping, it seems.
Is it possible to date without online dating?
I've been doing all right.
Well, I'm just saying.
I think.
Did it really happen? If
Yeah.
It wasn't online?
Did it happen if it wasn't swiped? No, but I think, I speak to quite a few people who are dating, doing a lot of online dating, feeling very frustrated, really, really frustrated and annoyed with the platforms, and not necessarily because of the platforms themselves, but just because of what they're finding or what they're not finding, and the kind of arduous process of going on lots of dates, starting lots of different conversations, being ghosted, which is something we went into. I think it was one of our past episodes. We've been to 2. I think it was like 7 and 8. I think it was about ghosting, and which is it's a big thing. So we talked about like how to avoid being ghosted and reasons why people ghost. But I think the online dating realm has really made ghosting a new phenomena.
Yeah, and as a general disclaimer, like I feel online dating has its place, and that success can be had, and people have their reasons and benefits and their pros for using online dating. But here today, we're going to discuss some very interesting facts and not figures. We have no figures here today. No figures for the points we're making, but some very interesting points of view is what I'm trying to say about online dating and what we've observed. Because it's like, at the end of the day, with any sort of dating, eventually you have to meet the person, ideally. I mean, in our world, at least, we like to meet the person.
Yeah.
Some worlds, maybe not.
Yeah, virtual worlds.
So let's get into it.
So yeah. So the first point on our 10 points is that one of the things I hate most of all about online dating is it's superficial, right? It's just about, you see a picture and then you swipe left or you swipe right, for the most part, right? That's Tinder. And you've got a bit more experience with Tinder than myself.
I do, yeah. You kind of stayed away from it.
I've never touched. Actually, a disclaimer as well is that I have not used any of the kind of commonly known dating apps of today.
No, you're pretty old school.
I'm old school. I was doing online dating I started about 10 years ago. The first time I kind of got involved. And I found that those platforms are plenty of fish. Big up Plenty of Fish, because you helped me meet my last partner, my last girlfriend. And it presented you with a picture, but also you just clicked in, it was like more desktop stuff. You clicked in, you went on and you read the profile. Whereas I see now with Tinder, just from observing people using Tinder and even playing on other people's Tinder, is that it's just very, very swipey. It's just like, look at the picture, I don't like what I see, move on. Look at the picture, I don't like what I see, move on. it's very much like that kind of continual swiping, and it's just about what people look like. And, you know, the women I've seen using it are more likely to kind of click through and look at a profile and so forth. But a lot of it is just picture choice.
Yeah. And so Dave said I've actually had some more experience on Tinder than David. He's old school. Plenty of Fish was, you know, something I think started off in the 80s.
Before there was even computers.
Before there was
computers, you could get mail order Plenty of Fish.
Everyone was like wearing neon sort of stuff, and, you know,
doing acid in clubs.
Yeah, that was proper old school stuff. With Tinder, so here's something interesting about Tinder. So when I was using Tinder, it's changed massively since then. Like now, there's far more going on in respect of, like, I don't know, additional things you got to pay for or barriers to entry. Where when I was using it, it was just swipe left, swipe right, and so here's a funny thing. So there was an app when I was using it, and on this app, you could essentially ask the app to just swipe for you. So I just turned this thing on, and it was doing fuck knows, maybe like 100 or whatever swipes a day. And again, this is before Tinder was allowing, it stopped allowing that sort of behavior. And see, because I figured something out about Tinder that a lot of people didn't necessarily agree with, but I don't think they understood the basics of maths. And it's simply like on Tinder, I mean, again, not entirely sure exactly how it works nowadays, but how it used to work was if you saw someone you like, you swipe right. This way? Yeah. You swipe this way?
Bro, I don't know. You know better than me.
You don't like him. And so you wouldn't know if a girl liked you until they swiped on you as well.
Yeah, until you match.
So then until you match. So everyone who was like playing the game, and it's okay, Tinder can ban me now as long as I'm not using Tinder. But like everyone who was playing the game of, like, you know, dithering and wondering and pondering over each, you know, laboring over each picture, like, I don't know, and musing on the words that she wrote.
I like her hair, but I'm not sure
what about this picture she's put. Like, and I'm like, have an app that just goes and just like swipe everyone. And people are like, yeah, but what about you get people that you don't like? I'm like, yeah, you just delete them.
Unmatched.
And so maybe this is the geeky thing here, right? I come from a computer science background, right? This is probably where it came from. It's called efficiency.
Efficiency.
And it was just like, you know, so then in the end, I would have in my inbox just girls that also match with me. And then I would go through.
Perceptive women.
Yeah. And I would go through and delete the ones that I wasn't interested in. And yes, okay, I understand there's people out there right now going, I'm very bad.
It's unethical.
Well, is it? Is it really?
Oh.
And you know, and yeah, you know what? Deleting people and giving false impressions and stuff. You're false hope. But you know what? It happened to me. and so, you know, and this is a thing on Tinder as well, right? This is a thing where you could match with someone, and then maybe after a short conversation, or even sometimes no conversation, disappear.
Yeah.
And they would just disappear from your inbox, and you're just like, what the fuck happened?
There's that thing also.
This is taking me right back. This is like,
right back in that world.
Memories, yeah.
I see there's a little tear in his eye and everything. What was I going to say? I don't know what I was going to say. It's gone now from my head. So we think it's fucking superficial, basically.
Well, based on images alone, and this is the thing: people that were laboring over the images, what other, what else do you have to go on other than what you're seeing in front of you? Like just the image of the person, they look a certain way, and I mean, if that's still how it's operating, that's a scary world, because like nowadays there's all sorts of filters and stuff that went around back then, and people's, like, you don't even have to have Photoshop skills anymore. Yeah, Photoshop used to be a word.
You just go onto your phone, or you get a little app that does it for you, and it smooths out your skin, brightens your eyes.
Yeah, the whole widens your eyes. And I've seen those adverts. They're actually pretty good adverts. Like they've got a girl who she'll have spots, and she'll have like weird shaped eyes and like teeth.
Well, she got square eyes
pointing in different directions. Yeah, and then the app literally. You think I'm joking, but this app literally they've nailed the marketing, and then with the app, like, she comes out looking like a supermodel.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's magic.
But well, you say it's magic, but as as we'll get into, like, this is not how do you say, like, you just don't know what's real. So if you're basing like your likes and dislikes or just off of the picture, then You're not really getting a good understanding of who that person is.
Exactly. So our next point is why we hate it is because it's judgmental. People are, point number 2 kind of fits in with the superficial, but it causes people to be very judgmental straight away. Like I know some people would say that, that's how we are anyway. We're judgmental with people, but actually this is like, you make a judgment and that's it. It's like you're fucking Judge Dredd, right? Like you see the picture, you're like, no, she shall die.
I think that's why some people liked it. They gave him a sense of power. Like,
yeah.
But it is that, yeah.
And that's it. There's no second chances. Whereas I always say, like, if that same person came up to you in a bar, you know, as you're a man and a woman comes up to you in a bar, I know as rare as fucking it is, it does happen sometimes. You would probably give her a lot more time if it was exactly the same girl that was in the picture than you would for when you're swiping, right? You're not gonna like look at the picture and go, I don't know, let me read her profile, let me look at her other 15 photos, maybe I'll swipe, you know, I'll say yes to this one and see how it pans out when we start talking. You're just gonna go no, because you know you're gonna swipe for another 30, 40, 50 people, right? Which is not something you could probably do in real life. You could do, that's an interesting one. Like you could go and speak to another kind of 50 people in a night, but most people aren't going to do that because they can't really be bothered.
Well, that's an interesting thing because it reminds me of what we were saying in the preamble. And I was basically like recounting our days at high school and just saying, you know, back then, way back when, you know, it literally was like, not the 80s, but like in 90s, early 2000s. And where, you know, when you're at school and that's all you see around you, that's the pool that you have to deal with. Whereas when you're on Tinder, and it's just like the globe is your oyster. What the world is your oyster.
The world is your oyster. Yeah,
the globe is your oyster. Ahmad 2019. You can get very complacent and just be like, no, and just you're looking for this like.
What are you looking
diamond.
for? You're looking for a fucking unicorn.
You're
looking for a picture of a unicorn. Oh, I found the woman I want. You know, it's like.
But yet, when you were at school or wherever we were, and you know what is around you, like if you take it back like another 100 years or so, people weren't dating like that at all. It's just like who's in your town, like who's and so all of a sudden you get this sort of inflated sense of choice, and it's like, right, okay, I'm gonna go find exactly what I want because I've got access to everything. And like Dave said, it's like you become super critical, super judgmental, and maybe a bit up yourself.
Yeah, and you become really judgmental, and you start to have this picture of the people you want to see, and it's not really a real picture of what anyone really looks like, right? Or like I've met people and I talked to them about their Tinder, and they're like, I'm not really seeing there's that many hot girls on Tinder, and I kind of think to myself, what the fuck are you looking for, man? Are you looking for UK's next top model or something to be hanging around on there? Or it's like, have you built this picture up of this person in your mind, but because you've been swiping so much, you're taking little bits from all the different people you like the look of, but not quite good enough, and you put it together in your head as this perfect kind of date that you want to find, and then you're just infinitely swiping in the hope of finding this. But actually, that picture you have in here doesn't exist. It's not a real world example of what anyone looks like. So I think we just kind of end up being incredibly judgmental of other people through the tiny bit of information that we have.
So it's like someone said to me recently about there's a world of difference between what you imagine in your head and what it actually takes to achieve something in reality. So it's the same thing here. It's like imagining what it could be like or who this person is in comparison to what's actually available and what's actually out there is completely different. And it doesn't really bode well to walk around just imagining like the most ideal situation. Especially if you're
how the world is.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to be searching for something that doesn't exist.
Yeah, and then it's going to leave you unhappy and unfulfilled.
So point number 3, why we hate online dating,
is you don't get to feel people. You know, you don't get to really, and I'm kind of talking about actually feel them, like touch them, feel them, but I'm more meaning like, you know, when you are at a workshop and a girl walks in and you see her and you see the way she just walks through the room, like with this effortless chic, just kind of, it's almost like they just glide through the room and you kind of see her and you're like, I like the way she moves. We need that song.
It's like an essence. And I think we mentioned this before about like photographs. And I had this conversation with David before because he's been really into taking what do they call it again? Portraits. Sorry, yeah, portraits. And the interesting thing is, it takes a photographer of great skill to really capture someone's essence. And yet everyone now is just shooting pictures on their phones or wherever, what they think is cool. But it's not really capturing an essence, and you don't get that. You just don't get that unless you're an insanely good photographer with great lighting and whatnot, and understanding of mood.
Yeah, and even like you don't really get people if you're. I feel like, you know, it goes down to the old one about communication and how, like, was it 70? What was it? Only 3%, not 7% of communication is through words. So that's saying even if you've looked at a picture of someone and then you've read what they've written on their profile, that means you've really only got about 7% of them from what you've read, from what they've said, right? So the rest of it's lost. You're not going to get any that. You're not getting any body language. You're not getting tonality or anything. Like, that's even if someone has communicated themselves wonderfully in just the words they've written on their profile. So it's like you've just lost out on, you know, 93% of a human being there. And I get it. Like, it's, you know, you can't get through that volume in a normal day. But equally, you're just losing because you just don't get to feel people properly. You don't get to talk to them. You don't get to hear their voice. You don't even get to like feel their breath on your ear when they're talking to you. You know, or get to smell what they smell like, and really, because that's what really kind of builds a connection. Is like it's all those other things that binds two people together, right? It's like how they look, how their presence. You don't get any presence through swiping through on some app, right? So yeah, I fucking hate it. I refuse to do it currently.
It's fascinating actually, because you're right. Like there's so much about human connection and in our character and how we present ourselves, and fragrance and just swagger, style, and movement and speech and all sorts that is completely cut off. Like you're looking for something on, let's again using Tinder, you can't hear their voice. You know, it's like just trying to think of the days where. Yeah, it's coming back to me. Like on Tinder, when you meet someone and then you connect and you've been talking for ages over the chat, and then you eventually either you speak to them over the phone or you meet them in person.
And you hear their voice. And the reason why we're laughing, right, is because think about it, guys. Like you've been out there, you've been doing your swiping. You think, yeah, boom, this girl's nice. She seems cool. She likes acid hip hop like I do. She's into foot fetishes as well. This is gonna be a great date. And then you get there and her voice just fucking irritates you.
Yeah, like it's just,
and you're just like, oh shit, I wish you'd shut up.
I wasn't thinking that bad, but like in general, there is that's a whole nother world. It's like you just been opened up to a whole nother reality about this person that you for some guys, right, especially you could be speaking to someone for months. Like
remember them times.
Like even if you work it backwards, right? Someone's been speaking to someone for months. Someone else is speaking to someone for some weeks. Someone else is speaking to them some days. You know, it doesn't matter the time difference. It's like, but then eventually, only then do you really get to hear and them. Understand and the movement. I mean, in some cases, I don't know if this is going to sound bad, but in some cases, like you turn up on a date and it's like their dress sense alone is like you spend so much time building a connection, feeling great, having good chat,
having good text chat. Because most of the time, let's break it down, guys. You know, you're not picking up the phone to call her. You know, you're just gonna text. You're just gonna text her, right? You're gonna stay in the app. You're gonna do messaging there. Then you're gonna do a bit of texting on WhatsApp, most likely. Check out a few pictures on the WhatsApp. Maybe get the Instagram. Check it all out. Make sure they look how they actually look. You know, that's if you've done your due diligence.
Reverse
we're not even.
search.
And you know, we haven't even got catfishing in this episode. Because we all got catfish stories.
Well, you have.
I have. We'll get that one at the end. Let's put that on the notes. We'll put some catfishing down there because I think that's a really good one to get into. Everyone loves a bit of catfish. If you've not seen the show,
problem,
it's a serious problem. Yeah. Where was I? I got really catfished.
Not sure now.
No, we're really lost. Yeah, so we found it. I got lost. I'm back. So yeah. So what we're saying is that, you know, someone turns up on a date and you look at how they dressed and you think, oh man, that's nothing like your pictures. Or, you know, you don't really, you don't get to feel them, or even worse still, this happened to me a few times. They don't look anything like the fucking picture. Wow. and you're kind of sitting there and you're talking to them and you're like, how was that picture you? And you know what you don't get in real life when you meet a woman in a bar or a club, or I'm not even saying bars and clubs because that's not something I really do these days. You meet them in a real world situation. It could be on a bus, it could be on a tube, it could be at work, it could be at a bus stop, right? The second time you meet her, she looks just like the first time because you can't be fooled in person so easily, in the same way you get fooled so like that online. Okay, let's get into the next one. So point 4 is artificial assumptions that we make, right? And I was saying this before we started recording. Cups. What we do a lot is, you look through some pictures. Someone's got 5-10 pictures on their profile, and you start swiping through, and you see a picture with them and a dog, right? And you think, oh fuck, I hate dogs. Oh fuck, I can't date her. She likes dogs. Or it could be there's a picture of her of a child, and you're like, oh, is that her child? Is that a friend's child? I'm not sure. I'm just gonna say no. We make these assumptions based on very little information, or it could even be. I remember years ago when I was online dating, my profile was quite verbose, to say the least. Like I had.
But that's how Plenty of Fish used to work.
Yeah, it's a benefit. I found it benefited you if you wrote a lot. So I had a really long profile. And in one of the points in the profile, I actually basically opened and said, like one of the things I really enjoy. I really enjoy sex. I think it's something that's really important. Blah blah blah. And this girl must have read through my profile, messaged me. It was like, I've read your profile and I thought you sounded really amazing. And then you said what you said about sex, and then I was just like, it sounds cool, but obviously that's only where his mind is. And I really thought to myself, and then that was the message sent me, basically. It was like, I don't want to talk to you because, what you can think about is sex. And I remember thinking to myself, that's really interesting. Like, obviously, I think at the time I kind of chuckled to myself. And I still chuckle to myself when I think about it, because that's all the information she had about me, right? It was quite a lot of information, but that's the bit that she focused on. And that's the assumption. She took that bit and turned that into a whole assumption about who I was. When imagine if I hadn't put that single, it literally was a single line, maybe 2 lines. She might have met the man of her dreams, and now she might be single, lying on, I don't know, under a dustbin somewhere, sad and lonely. Hopefully not. But I'm saying is that we make these huge assumptions with a very tiny amount of information.
Okay.
And, we still do that in real life, but not to the same degree. Because you have the person in front of you, and at least they have the opportunity to speak out of what you've just heard and you've made your assumption about.
Yeah, I don't think I have much else to add to that. I could talk about my own experience of it. Like, I have nothing to add, and I can go on for about half an hour. So
he does like to get chatty sometimes.
But I do. This happened with my my ex-girlfriend. When I first came across her on Tinder, like there was a picture of her and a couple of kids, and I did assume that maybe she was a single mother, and I had no idea. And then it turned out later that she was a nanny.
Yeah,
and yeah. So and it's like I was looking at the pictures, going, oh, the kids do look like her. Like, is it? And these are the sort of things that again you only contend with when you're dealing with online dating.
Yeah,
it's not something you would. I mean, you could ask someone. If I have kids with them, these your kids.
If you're on a bus and she's got kids with her, then if you're in a park and you see a girl and she's pushing a little pram, then
yeah.
If you want to go in like that,
I think wasn't there a joke we had last time about approaching married? Is that her husband? Is that her husband? That's her kids. Yeah. Don't approach anxiety.
That won't make any sense unless you listen to episode 19. So go listen to episode 19, and it will make you'll laugh. You'll be
laughing with us and not at us. Point number 5. It's like playing Russian roulette with a machine gun.
Yeah, this is something I think I say to people a lot is, you go on, you're online, and there's so many online platforms now, right? There's loads.
Oh, too many.
Like it's like Tinder's I think still like the big number one. You got like Bumble and Hinge, and what's some of the other ones?
I saw one called Jigsaw. Muzmatch.
Big up all my Muzmatch people. I know a few guys there doing nicely on old Muzmatch. Minda.
Which one's Minder?
Minder. Is that a real one?
I think
And they got shut down because it's too close to Tinder. Was it Muslim Tinder?
possibly, yeah. Sounds like it. I was like,
Yeah. And then you've got things like Match, Guardian Soulmates, which are kind of a bit more old school, right? Because they've been around a long time, Match and Guardian Soulmates.
the Goliaths of the dating world.
There's just so many now. But for the most part, especially with Tinder, it's like it's thinking you're going to find the love of your life on Tinder is like playing Russian roulette with a single bullet and a machine gun and thinking I'm going to get shot. Because you could be taking you could get a lot of fucking bullets.
Some of these apps do have algorithms and stuff in the background to do the matching and whatnot.
But like Match.
And we haven't even seen like these new ones, these elite ones, like Inner Circle.
Inner Circle. I have a friend of mine that uses Inner Circle, and it's a lot of professionals. Like it's mainly kind of like lawyers and bankers and stuff like that.
I've been trying to get David to research some more of these. I'm in a relationship now, so it's not so easy for me to research.
I've been busy.
Dave's been busy. Dave's been offline.
How am I going to advocate the offline life,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I feel like I haven't really needed to get involved in this.
There's a lot for David to research.
You know, there's a lot of research to be done out there. I'm trying to research offline for you guys because I think the online world is saturated. I think it's kind of swung the other way where like offline dating, as people are neglecting their offline dating.
Well, we'll get to that. Yeah, I think that's an important thing. Yeah, but sorry, back to your Russian roulette. I was just thinking about
basically it's just trying to play Russian roulette with a single bullet and a machine gun and thinking you're gonna get shot.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like I mean, I don't know how good these algorithms are now, but in general, especially with a lot of these dating apps, they are throwing up different gimmicks to help create a better connection. Like there's a new one that I was telling Dave to go research recently called I think it's called Jigsaw or something, and the idea is you can't see the person's face, so they've taken Tinder and turned it on its head. You got a jigsaw thing in front of the person's face. I've only seen the advert, so from what I've garnered from the advert is the more you talk to them, the more you can see their face, and that could be like a really bad episode of was that program Blind Date, Blind
Date.
Yeah. Except you're not going on holiday. I wonder how. This is why I was asking Dave to research it because I was wondering how does it work? Like, does it like you could have a great conversations, but then if you're physically repulsed, like which does happen to people. I'm not offending anyone specifically here.
I'm sure people have been physically repulsed by us.
We've all been physically repulsed by each other. So I'm just wondering what happens in that situation, when they've been talking chatty for a while and then they're like, oh, actually, no.
Shut down.
Disappear. A different level of ghosting.
You just throw your phone in the river. No, you just politely say, have a good day.
Have a good day.
Have a good life.
Polite. I bid you
farewell.
Just hide.
I dash you to the rocks by the reason of your own folly.
You hide behind the couch, just like when Jehovah's Witnesses come around. They can't see you. Yeah. So anyway, Russian roulette it's a massive. It's interesting because people feel like it does make things more efficient. It makes things more easy, and yet. At the same time, it's just like Dave's exactly like Dave said. It's just like a machine gun approach to meeting people, but then you have no idea who you're meeting. Yeah.
Okay, so our next point is point 6, which is I feel like it's just a really low effort thing to do. Let's compare it to real world, like where people go out their houses and meet other human beings in person and have in-person conversation. I know in this day and age of, technology that thing I just said is like really scary and shit to people. But in that way, you had to make an effort to go outside, talk to somebody you didn't know, make some effort with some conversation.
Put some pants on.
Put some pants on. Put some clothes on as well. Maybe put some shoes on too. Yeah. Whereas this, you can lie in your own fucking bed. Completely naked.
Or on the toilet.
Yeah, on the toilet, which I reckon...
Sit on the toilet.
I reckon the place people use Tinder most is probably sitting on the toilet.
I definitely used it a lot there.
Yeah. Right, so... But you have to make an effort to kind of actually get out and, present your personality in a kind of nice way and actually even just present yourself in the way that you are. Whereas a lot of it now is like, I can sit here and swipe. And I can imagine for some women that it's kind of the opposite problem that a lot of men have, where a lot of guys are struggling for a match, whereas some women are probably just matching continuously. And they don't have to really make any effort anymore and actually like kind of responding in conversation until they have to match. And then they've got like 17 guys trying to talk to them. So how much effort can you really bother to make? You know, whereas if you meet someone one-to-one, you kind of need to be 50-50 in a conversation.
I mean, you raise an interesting point there, because we were actually largely talking about this from the perspective of men, and as David just said there, for a lot of women, like, and I know this because I did some research back when I was using online dating, and I set up a female profile, and before even, I forget which app it was, but before the whole process of registration was complete, I already had like 3 or 4 messages in the inbox.
Wow!
And I wasn't using any sort of like supermodel. It was just like what I would deem like a nice girl, like, you know. And so that just goes to show you like the differences in what's going on, but also what it breeds. Like, you know, that sort of like, how, like you said, that I would class it as a sort of overwhelm. Like, how do you deal with this? And then also it must create a bit like, you know, if overnight you win the lottery and then tomorrow everyone's like, oh, Dave, man, yeah, how's my buddy Dave? You'd be like, oh, Dave, for a week. Oh, Dave, how you doing, Dave? How you doing? A month, Dave. You're like, fuck off. so you know, for these girls, like, it must be crazy.
Yeah, but it's like, I remember a friend of mine was on there, and she said literally within 10 minutes she'd had like people hounding her. Like, and it's not just like, oh, you matched with a few guys and they just say, hey, like something interesting. Hey, how you doing? Like, I saw you one of your pictures. It looked like, oh, where was that? It was like Morocco or Algeria, something like that. You know.
Oh, look at Dave with a smooth chat.
I'm just saying.
Anyone who's attentive, these are good tips.
So something you could say, or, you know, oh, I saw that picture in the bookshop. Like, that bookshop's really cool. Have you been to the one that's in Rio? It's like world famous. I don't know, something like that, right?
Dave will be leading a course on how to do online dating properly. Will be advertised at the end.
But I'm saying is like, if you imagine, like, for some people, like, not just women, I think there's probably guys out there that get this as well, where you're getting 20 messages a day, you know, and you still got to go work. And get all the rest of your life.
For the women?
Either. I think there's probably guys out there.
They're getting way more than 20, I guarantee you. No, seriously, they are. It's way more than 20. Like, that's just the dick pics. They're getting way more than 20, yeah. They're getting poetry and shit. Like, that thing I told you about Tinder earlier, where I had the thing swipe and blah, blah, blah. I was talking to my cousin, female. She's a female, about this. And she was like, oh, that's a good idea. And then she started swiping. I was like, no! And then literally, like, for the next 2-3 days, she was like sending me screenshots of shit like guys were sending her.
Wow.
No dick pics, thankfully, but like poetry.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's sweet. No, but you say sweet after like there's 20 guys, different guys sending you poetry and trying to be unique. So yeah, they're getting a lot of fucking noise.
Yeah. Whew, what was that? Low vibes.
Yeah. Vibes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just low effort, low vibes. Like,
yeah.
So the next point. What was that one? This is one. You can say this one.
Oh, thanks. So
I thought I've been talking a lot.
Oh, chatty.
Yeah, I got chatty.
I observed the chatty. Yeah, so this is a really hot topic for you, Dave. I think in general, the online dating. So yeah, number 7 is of why we hate online dating is it's just an avoidance technique. Like, by and large, for a lot of guys especially the guys who are like, you know, if I go to a bar or a physical location, I can only meet so many women. Here in my underpants, I can meet hundreds of women.
Efficiency.
Yeah. I remember I went to this talk once where they were asking about, this was years ago, and I still remember this. They were just like, hey guys, like, how many guys here have spoken to like 10 women this week? And there's everyone, like, a bunch of people, not everyone, but a bunch of people put their hands up. And then they keep like increasing the number, 50, 40. And then they went up to like 1,000. This dude, this most unassuming dude, he had his hand up. I was like, fuck, man, he's really on it. This guy's really just fucking approaching women. He must be shit hot. And then it turned out that what he classed as approaching was online. Online. Yeah.
So what, looking at a picture on his phone?
No, I don't know, just sending a message or some shit, right? But I mean, and you know, fair play to him. He did 1,000 of those, but we'll go back to fucking point number 6. It's fucking low. That's fucking low effort.
In his pants.
But yeah,
with his games controller in his other hand.
That's multitasking, bro. That doesn't sound like a man, I know. But yeah, so in regards to getting out there, meeting, just having everything we spoke about before, like really getting the essence, speaking, even breathing the same air, just having the real life experience of being on this planet. Yeah, massively avoiding the real life dating scenarios.
Cool. So the next thing is something that I think is one of the key problems with online dating is that it's a commoditization of dating human beings and human connection. So I say that again because I like that line. It's a commoditization of dating human beings and human connection. So it's like, instead of it being something that can be, unique and a story, we've turned into the same way in which we order our fucking Uber. Actually, I think your Uber is even less commoditized than fucking dating apps, right? It's like you're just swiping through like a zombie, like you kind of scroll through Instagram, right? You just kind of keep scrolling. You're never really looking really fully engaged. It's like just a commoditization. Everything has to become a commodity. So it's like something to be consumed and bought and gone through very quickly. Like efficiency. That's one of my biggest kind of pet hates. Like, and I say all this, right? And I haven't online dated for, I think, 7 years. And I'm not saying never, I won't ever do it again. It depends how I feel tomorrow. But these are all the things that we hate. But yeah, the commoditization of human beings is something we're really against. It's like we're all unique in our way, and our experience that we've had and our experience that we're going to have. And to just be judged upon a photo is just really quite sad, I think, is that you can think that's totally cool and okay, and that's how you want to live your life. I think it just says a lot about society now, that's you want to find the love of your life, and you're willing to make that initial decision based purely on a photo. Like, there's one thing to say what someone looks like as an entirety or as you've seen them, but just purely on this small little photo that appears on your phone, that's your judgment. And it's I
feel like the whole vibe just
I just took it down.
Straight went real deep and sad and sorrow, but from the other side of that, like what I was getting as well when we were looking at this as a point was also how every solution that we create in life tends to then create more problems. And so with online dating and this, it was very exciting, this whole idea. And for many people, like, there's probably loads of people right now who've listened to this, who've met wonderful people online and going, you guys are talking fucking shit. But what we're talking about in general is the mass, like the mass movement. And what we can see is that, like I said, every solution that we create as human beings tends to create other problems. And we can definitely see it's almost like, I think the saddest thing about it is like a sense of that distancing. It's, the loss of human connection. It's actually the loss of human connection, the loss of really being connected, falling in love with someone's laugh and their smile, seeing the small details in accents in someone, as opposed to just going, oh, that looks cool. Oh, that looks shit. And I'm aware, and we even know some of these guys who they run organizations, companies, whatever, where you can really help someone to better their online profile, make it look a certain way, make it feel a certain way, and but it's just because it's like fishing. It's like get the bait on the hook, and so on and so forth. So it's a real obscure way, and people again will go, oh, but you could do that in real life, but actually no, it's way harder, and it's definitely way harder. And this is definitely what we're not teaching in authentic dating is any sort of rhetoric where you are continually having to basically build a story that isn't true. We're more about speaking truth and being real, and here it's like online dating creates this whole facade that you have to be a certain way, and if you're not, like, if you like, just as a small example that I remember, and here are some quick online dating tips, like it's like you have to show that you have a social life. So you have to, like, your pictures need to be curated enough that you have, like, you show that you've got shit going on, that you've traveled, that you're doing interesting, exciting things, and again, you might actually spend most of your time at home in your underpants. But you went on a trip to China last year, And now, you know, that's what you're using to populate your not Instagram, but actually your Instagram, but your online dating profile. But it's a snapshot. It's the highlights. It's not the full picture.
Yeah. And it's all equally like, now I've seen it, and I think I'm not kind of knocking this, is that you can get a photographer like myself to come and take you out for the day.
How much do you charge, Dave?
What, for a day? It depends. Don't say hours. If it's like a full day's work, it could be like £400 to £600 to take you out around London, and I can photograph you in beautiful places. Go to Hyde Park, go to some lovely bookshops, outside a coffee shop, by the river, you know, a few other interesting places, some markets, and this will give the impression of a very cultured person. You know, but maybe normally you never leave your house, or you spend most of your time in front of your laptop because, you know, you're doing whatever you're doing, but you can give this impression, and that's what it is. It's a persona, your online persona, you know, and that's part of, you know, the persona you present on a lot of these dating apps, is that it's a persona of who you are. It's not really who you are, you know, and it's when someone meets you, and this is what a lot of people are facing a lot, is that they meet people and then there's this huge amount of disappointment, like, oh, you don't look like you do in the picture. You don't act like the sort of person that you talk about in your profile, and people are just disappointed, and they just become fatigued with the online dating, and they just give up, and they feel resigned to like a life of loneliness, of spinsterhood and bachelorness. Is that even a word?
Yeah.
But you know,
yeah. So that was point 8, right? So then point 9, avoiding real vulnerability. And so now we're like getting back to like what it is to meet people in person, and just, you know, there's an old saying, you know, having your heart on your sleeve, but like literally having yourself like there, vulnerable, exposed, and actually having a sense of character about yourself because of it, as opposed to just feeling confident because, I don't know, you've had 100 matches or something.
Yeah.
But it's not the same as meeting. It's like the difference between practicing doing a speech and then actually standing in front of people and giving the same speech.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a whole different vibe. You're like, you're actually in the moment.
Yeah.
There is no editing. There is no curating. It's just you know, with your foibles.
Yeah. You have to put yourself on the line. You have to actually put yourself on the line and go, you know, if you're going back to what we used to do a lot of, was like, we used to do day game. Right. So
what's day game?
Well, so I was about to say that.
What's day game?
So we used to take guys out in the daytime. Might be
in the daytime.
In the daytime,
and you call it day game, huh?
Yeah.
So game in the day. Game of the day.
It's like playing tennis. We used to take guys out and get them to approach women in the street. And this was like what, probably 10 years ago, 8 years ago, and it was just confronting, right? Because it's not in a normal setting that people are expecting. You would be going up to women on the street and go, hey, I just saw you from across there and I just thought you looked really beautiful. I'd love to talk to you, or what's your name? What are you up to? And start a conversation in that way. And now that's vulnerable, right? Because you're really putting yourself on the line. Like someone could just turn at you and just walk off. You know, that happened to me, where women just kind of looked at you like you're crazy.
Happened to you? It happened to you?
Yes. They just turned and thought I was crazy and walked away. You know, that's really putting yourself on the line. Whereas sitting and swiping, there's no real vulnerability in that. You know, there's no vulnerability, and that's where it lacks connection, because there's the lack of vulnerability.
Well, and this is the main thing that I always like to focus on, is that I personally feel like online dating, it definitely did a lot for me in terms of meeting women, and actually it did actually help me to improve my dating, especially after I came back from an injury, back into the game after an injury. Yeah. No, but I had like sciatica, and I was like, I couldn't really fucking walk for like a year. So it just helped, like, put me in touch. However, the main thing was always, in reality, like, how do I convey myself? How do I express myself? Can I speak freely? Does my personality shine through? I'm like, does my vibe match what they saw online and stuff? And that's not something that, like we were saying before, you can't edit that. You have to be that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So into the last point, the next
10.
point is point 10. The last one is struggling here. It's all about mitigating rejection, right? And this is something I did a recent post to it was Instagram about this video, is that a lot of things that we're getting into now in dating, in terms of, you know, whether it be like lines, which are probably kind of like quite classic in the last 10, 15 years. But now the online dating is like, it's all about mitigating rejection. It's like avoiding being rejected. And now you have a couple of layers between you and the person that you're swiping against, because that's what you're kind of doing. You're swiping them. There's you, your phone, the fucking system that sits in between you and them, but you never have to actually interact with them directly. There's no way. You don't have to say, sorry, miss, I don't want to speak to you. You're not good looking enough. And you have to like push them out the way, you know?
Swipe,
physical
so
swipe.
Their face, swipe.
Yeah. You know, you don't have to do that, because if you had to do that, it's a lot harder to do, right? To reject someone like in person. It's why ghosting so popular, because people don't even want to have to like message someone and say they don't want to see them again. So yeah, so it's why, you know, it's one of my kind of pet dislikes about, is that it's all about, let's not be rejected. I don't want to feel rejected. But in fact, like as we were talking earlier, like rejection actually could be the best thing that happens for you in your dating life. Because through rejection, one, I think you learn, you know, what is you want or what is you like if you're rejecting people. And that's, rejecting sounds quite harsh, but, you know, but by being rejected as well, it builds a level of character, I think, as well for you.
No, yeah, absolutely. And this is the thing, like in this whole episode was essentially about understanding the importance of human connection, the importance of vulnerability in dating, because what we believe, and we're not alone, is that vulnerability creates connection.
Yeah.
When you can actually express yourself, expose yourself, I'm talking about emotions and feelings, not your penis. Yeah, no dick pics, not, at least not in that way.
And don't send them to us either.
No. Yeah, whoever that is, stop it. No. So, and there's a core message here, which is that it's actually an embracing rejection, embracing those the failures. I actually saw this today. I saw some video. This is actually more business orientated. If actually it was Mark Zuckerberg who was talking about this, and a very young Mark Zuckerberg, he was basically saying that people should embrace messing up, because that's how anyone achieves anything in life. And especially in dating, you see the characters, the guys that you see going up to women and like anywhere in the street or in a club, in a club, a bar, whatever, are the ones that are willing to die. Like they're willing to just say whatever. Like
they're putting themselves on the line.
And you think perhaps that they have some special gift that they don't get embarrassed, but they do. But they just don't let it stop them. And over time, they've noticed that it doesn't stop them.
Yeah.
And their character gets strong and steely, and they look like Popeye, for anyone who remembers him from the 80s.
Popeye and spinach.
After he's had his spinach. And this is the thing. It's like, then you become adept. You become more free. You're not so worried and concerned about other people. And you're actually more concerned about, right back to the beginning where David was talking about the girl who read his profile and said, I don't like what you said about sex. You see, for Dave, he was willing to be rejected. And yeah, so yeah, and and that, I mean, who knows what happened to this woman, but
under the bin.
Yeah. But I just like thinking, like in the grand scheme of things, like you didn't lose anything.
No.
Yeah, you didn't lose anything. And in fact, this is something we were saying. It's like, for all of this concern about being rejected and whatnot, when you actually become more vulnerable and better connected, and we were sharing this story earlier, it's just like, well, you don't actually notice the ones that are rejecting you, because you have women around you, you have options, you're free, you're not in that scarcity vibe that you're needing to have and hold on to everything.
And equally, it kind of, because you're kind of putting yourself out there and you're like, this is who I am, and someone's like, well, that's not what I'm interested in, you see that as a blessing. And I know it's hard to see that as a blessing, but it's like, well, if someone doesn't want you for who you are, then that's great, right? Because you want someone who wants you for who you are. It's like, it's when you're on that kind of idea that, oh my God, only this one woman was right in front of me might be the only woman that ever likes me, which is so far from the truth, then you're going to be kind of like, oh my God, I need to keep this somehow, I need to avoid the rejection. And actually, in all those, whatever you're going to do after that and the tactics that you do, you're going to just create the situation where she's going to be like, oh no, I'm okay. I'm cool, goodbye. you know, it's with that effortlessness of that acceptance of willingness to die or the willingness to be rejected that, you know, that's where the magic really happens.
Yeah. So just to recap then, like, you know, we've covered like 10 reasons why we hate online dating. But the main message here today is actually about developing your ability to just be vulnerable, expose yourself to the risks of dating, the risks of being rejected. And you're actually going to find that by embracing rejection, you're improving the odds of your dating life. Like, you know, whether you see a girl in the library or you see, or in the coffee shop or wherever, like, you know, just being able to go over and say, hi, you know, how are you?
Yeah.
And create a conversation and be free with that, and also be free with your sexuality. We've expressed all of this in previous podcasts. I think like even episodes
3 or 4.
Yeah. So
we got episode 4. I think it is about being comfortable with your sexual desires, which is a really important thing.
And again, that requires that you're embracing rejection, being vulnerable. So online dating, it's useful, but as the only way or as a kind of protection level, no.
Yeah. If it's the only way you're dating, then I think you're really limiting yourself to what's possible in the world, because there's real people out there who want to have real conversations and are willing to also be vulnerable. I see it more and more now when I speak to people I meet, whether it be at workshops I'm attending or events I'm going to, is that the number of people I meet that are completely rejecting online dating, especially women. Actually, that's definitely been my kind of my findings and my research when I speak to people. He's laughing because he's like, who's he been speaking to? I basically just been speaking to women.
No. I was just laughing because he said research.
But most, like a lot of women I've met are like, no, I'm not doing it anymore. It's just bullshit. Like, whereas I don't hear that so much from guys. I hear a lot from women going, no, I'm not doing any more online dating.
So from my experience, like after my my last relationship, before meeting my girlfriend, I joined like Tinder, Bumble, Happen, and whatever else was going on. And then very quickly, like, and by very quickly, I mean literally like a couple of days, I was like, oh, fuck this. Because I had to like, you know, because, you know, when you rejoin, like, I have to like upload pictures, I had to figure out the curation, the lighting, the messages, the words. And then me being me, I'm quite lazy. I was just like, fuck this. And I was like, that, you know, I'll meet someone, and lo and behold, like law of attraction or something, like boom. But genuinely, that's how I felt. I was like, oh, this is long. And there are other opportunities. Like there is, see, this is the thing as well. And I think some people get, especially perhaps, you know, the younger generation who are growing up in a world of online dating, and they just think this is the only way.
It's an online world, man.
Yeah. But it's not the only way. And more importantly, even if you do meet someone online, you have to be able to be offline. Yeah. So as someone actually said recently in regards to business and marketing, it's master the offline first and then take it online.
I think we're going to just cap it off like that. Actually, we better give you a recap. So, of the 10 things we really fucking hate about online dating, maybe that could be the new title. Fucking hate. I don't know how iTunes would feel about that. The first thing was that it's superficial. It's just about pictures and swiping. It creates a very judgmental mentality for you about other people. You can't really feel people, you know, you can't really feel them. You can't really feel their skin or watch how they move. It causes you to make a lot of artificial assumptions about people based on their pictures or very tiny bits that they've written on their profile. One of my personal favorites here, number 5, is just like playing Russian roulette with a machine gun and having one bullet. Number 6, it's low effort, low vibes. Number 7, it's an avoidance technique. It's avoiding having to kind of put yourself out there. Number 8, it's a commoditization of dating human beings and human emotion. Number 9, it's avoiding real vulnerability, where you're willing to kind of put yourself on the line to be, you know, disliked or judged or whatever it may be. And number 10, it's a huge rejection. It's a rejection mitigation strategy.
Very good.
Nice. So here at the podcast of human connection and vulnerability, we're not so keen on the old online dating. Whew. Boom. So that's a lot of content. I feel like we went through a lot today. But I think it's great stuff as always.
Yeah.
Let us know how great we are by contacting us on our Instagram, which is at Authentic Dating Series. You can hit us up on our website as well. Contact us there at www.authenticdatingseries.com.
And subscribe on iTunes and all that jazz.
Yeah, go and subscribe because it means it comes straight to your phone, and then iTunes give you a little pop-up and going, hey, this is an amazing podcast episode out again. On a Tuesday, we're pretty regular on our Tuesdays. And I think that's it. Is there anything else coming up?
No.
Oh, if you want to kind of track us down and find us and meet us, we're going to be down doing some breath work down at the Aho Centre in Hackney, but that's not going to be until the 13th of May.
Okay.
It's a men's circle. Highly recommend that. We both did some breath work, and it was like incredibly moving and probably the best fun that you can have without doing any illegal drugs, or legal ones possibly. Yeah.
Very good.
Cool, guys.
Ciao.
Have a good night. Bye bye.